To Buzzy Bees. It's been a while since I've posted anything. I've actually been away, so I just wanted to give you all a bit of an update on where things are at. You'll see some different hives, etc, since I last posted, but just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on where things were. You can see I have the larger flow hive here that's doing really well. When I came back, I was away for about 4 or 5 weeks, a little bit longer than that actually, and it was absolutely chock-a-block full of honey. So this one's doing really well, and I've harvested a few frames out of that. This one here, when I left, I was feeding it. I've taken the feeder out of there and it seems to be going quite well. I'll go to this one. This one's doing very well. Double brood boxes, so it's going really well at the moment. It's grown very well just from a simple split. So this one here was a bit of a concern when I left. I actually left it queenless and I left it a single box. I actually had to take the flow frames off and empty them all of honey, because I found out just before I left, literally the day I left or the day before I left, it was queenless. So I threw some frames from this one in with some eggs, and I'd already done that once, and I went back in to find that they hadn't done anything with it. So I did it again just before I left, and thankfully they were successful in breeding their own queen. So that one's already gone up to 2 boxes, so it's doing really well since I've come back. We come through here, just started the smoker. So this is one of the splits we made with the queens. Now this particular one here is actually the old queen from that other triple hive, and she's just a prolific layer. So this one's going fantastically well, probably ready for its first harvest fairly shortly. So that's how that one's going, and that's the top box. This is the Flow Hive 2 box, and you can see it's doing equally well. So that one's absolutely chock-a-block full of bees. Now this hive was sitting down here, but before I left I actually split it out, and this is actually a friend's hive that I'm going to be returning. The friend actually gave me some frames that I then added a queen to and made an extra colony out of it, because we have some frames of bees in there, and I want to return it with a colony. So I've kind of gone through the process of doing that with that one. I'll come back to it. This is the other Flow Hive 2 that I have, and you can see they're doing okay. They're not quite as strong as this one, but that one started off very well. So that's kind of where those little guys are. Now what I'm going to do today is I'm going to get in there. To give you a quick background, I had a swarm that I caught. Actually landed up on this tree up here. I caught it numerous times. It kept absconding, so I locked it in place, and then after a little while I let them out and they absconded. So I left a frame of brood in there, which was quickly getting attacked by ants and beetle. So I took a couple of extra frames and shook some bees in from this box into these ones, and so I'm going to, it was about a week and a half ago, so I'm going to get into this little guy today, and I'm going to see whether we have the makings of a queen. There was a couple of frames of brood in there that had eggs and larvae, so really we should be opening up and finding a queen cell or a couple of queen cells in there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm just going to pop the video on pause and we'll reconvene in a second. Okay, so back in this box, and I was suspicious there was a few things wrong, and as you can see down here, I'll show you even more in a second, but there were bees coming in and out, and initially they weren't. See a little ant, a bee down there with a little grub. That should be a sign of things to come. There's another grub down there. So what I've done is I quickly put a feeder in there. I put 3 frames. Now initially there was more than enough bees. Now this is a big mistake some people make, and I've been guilty of doing it in the past. I was concerned about this particular hive, hence why I was coming in today. One of the main things you can tell is if there's little ants going in and out. That's always a sign that the colony's not very strong. However, what I found is there was a lot of bees coming in and out of the entrance, And what I believe they were doing is they were robbing this feeder out. So I don't know whether you can see down there, but the feeder's almost gone. So it's actually bees robbing. Now if we look over here, this is the result of our week split. Unfortunately a raging fail. So we can see just huge numbers of beetle larvae, and grubs and horrible things. So unfortunately we've epically failed on this one, but it was basically an attempt. Look at all this is grim. Basically it was an attempt to try and salvage a hive out of the split that I'd gone down the road of. So yeah, I had sorry, not out of the split, salvage a hive out of the setup that I'd done for the swarm. I was given some warnings about some beekeepers in the area of never bother with swarms. I actually haven't figured out which of my hives swarmed yet, but that's another story. But yeah, this is probably my third attempt of catching a swarm and then trying to follow up with something, and pretty much all of them have absconded. So yeah, I don't know how many times I'll be trying to chase after swarms again. However, what I would say is this is a really good example of why, as a beekeeper, you need to make sure that you're into your hives fairly regularly and not going away for long trips like I did, because obviously you can catch hives before they swarm and you won't end up with something horrible like that. This is all beautiful capped honey, and loads of capped brood, and the beetle have just absolutely destroyed it. So I'm going to get these cleaned up and out of the way of my good hives, so they don't manage to make, you don't want those grubs getting into the soil around them, because they're just going to create loads and loads more beetles. So these are the joys of beekeeping. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. If we just showed how you get it right all the time, no one would ever learn. So this is a fairly important lesson for all of us, myself included, of course. But yeah, look, we all learn as we go. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the button down the bottom and subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I get more videos up. I should be getting some more posted as I'm now back. But yeah, all the best guys, and happy beekeeping. Take care.